long have I been coming to CES? For about 18 years now. That makes me sound old.
For over 15 years. This is number 16 for me.
How many CES shows have you been to?
I have been to 23 CESs.
31. This is my 31st CES. Holy sh**.
How many times have you been here to CES?
This is my 39th visit to Winter CES.
I just got back from CES 2020, and it was crazy. Over the first 3 days, I had already racked up over 27 miles. I was invited out by LG's XBoom team, so I promised them some footage. Here you go, LG. One of my first jobs was as a sales rep for Circuit City. In addition to the employee discount, one perk was that I was able to go to CES in Las Vegas. As a tech enthusiast in my early 20s, I was excited. Now in 2003, car audio was extremely popular, but the main hall still had recognizable hi-fi brands. Now, 17 years later, I wanted to know the state of hi-fi at CES.
I used to work for Circuit City. Yeah.
I worked for Circuit City.
Yeah.
That was my first job in this industry.
Me too.
They're all gone now.
Back in the early days, we had two CES, one in the summer in Chicago and one in the winter in Las Vegas.
CES has moved from being kind of a trade show where buyers show up and they meet up with sellers and they do deals to just this massive celebration of technology, innovation. It's totally cool. It's everything going on in the world of tech.
And the rise of China as a major force in electronics is an amazing change. It's also amazing the change in the way we distribute these products and the way that people buy them. It's a lot of products are purchased online, and in the early days, dealers would come here. Every town had a dealer in it. Maybe it was a TV hi-fi shop or a camera hi-fi shop, and then we got the mega stores in the 90s and the early 2000s, and now we have so much online. It's just an amazing part of it. And in those days, dealers would come after Christmas. They would have sold out all of their inventory, and they would bring with them a readout of their inventory and purchase orders. And you would sit down with each dealer and write 6 months worth of orders.
I'm sure that was good.
That was great. And then the fax machine came, and they said, oh, well, I'll fax you the order when I get back to the office. And that really just changed. And of course, now dealers don't even carry very much inventory. They really use the factory as the warehouse, and they purchase to on demand.
When I started at Klipsch in 2002 and came to CES for the first time, there used to be a hall of just audio. Times have changed a little bit, and CES has expanded greatly. It's now all over the place in the convention center, different hotels, the parking lots. It's all over the city. We've moved to the central hall, and now we're amongst many other big companies. There's also been a lot of brands that are in audio that have been over at the Venetian, and that has changed a lot recently, so it keeps getting a little bit smaller.
We were in the main hall, and I didn't see very many hi-fi brands. I saw mostly TVs, right? And until I came here to Venetian, and I think it's just this main hallway that I see. And so I'm sure it wasn't like that before, was it?
Not at all. No, it was all hi-fi brands. This was a hi-fi show.
So you can look at it one of two ways. You could look at it that the traditional audiophile community is less represented here, and therefore maybe there's less hi-fi. The way I would say it is the traditional audiophile community is here, maybe not in full strength, but also every other way of enjoying great sound is here. It's a much more inclusive and broad-based way of looking at sound, which is basically very in touch with how SVS looks at the world. We want to bring great sound to more and more people.
Well, we've noticed that the audio scene has shrunk. It's shrinking. It's getting smaller. Because if you look at CES, a lot of CES is now becoming smart objects, light bulbs, and little robot puppies. And before it was about audio, it was about entertainment. And you see a lot less traditional entertainment and more house goods and things like that.
The types of products have changed as well. So in those days, well, probably more like the 90s were the heyday of the automotive sound systems. So the central hall was all audio brands that made aftermarket equipment to improve the sound of your car. And of course, now that's all integrated into the cars along with navigation and everything else. So that has really changed. The way they consume music has changed, and the equipment reflects those changes along the way. So in the early 80s, it was just the very beginning of the compact disc. That was the latest hot technology at that time. Digital audio is just beginning. We sold lots of turntables, lots of cassette decks. People would make cassettes of playlists from their LPs, or they'd buy an LP and record it and listen to the tape and preserve the LP because, of course, every time you play an LP, it degrades. So, that was the shape of the business then. It was before home theater, so it was really a stereo marketplace at that point. And, of course, it's before computers and all of the gadgets that we have now.
We've really seen an evolution where it was sort of very much focused on the high-end two-channel world, and now you're getting this sort of evolution where it's multi-room. I mean, here we have a home theater set up, we have our wireless products next door, Prime Wireless, and it's just had this this growth where now there's all different kinds of audio you're seeing in the realm that's not just hi-fi and that sort of traditional two-channel environment.
The change, I feel like, in audio has been that people want more convenient ways to listen to their music and movies. So instead of showing passive loudspeakers like we've done over the last 30 years or more, we're now showing things that appeal to people's lifestyles today. So sound bars, headphones, true wireless, things that they can take with them on the go and use all the time.
How has that affected things?
It's made it much, much better, in my opinion. And, here at Lenbrook, we have evolved our brands to reflect the new ways that people consume music. So we have streaming with our BlueOS operating system. We've created Blue Sound brand that addresses younger consumers and more casual listeners, but still with high-resolution audio performance.
Our job is to take current technologies and continue to improve them, make them better. Right. If you think about what a turntable sounds like now, a high-end turntable, compared to what it sounded like in the 70s, there is a massive jump. It used to have to sacrifice performance for convenience when it came to audio. You could have 1 million songs, but the quality wasn't that good. Right. Now you can have great sound and convenience. And more and more solutions are coming out for you to take advantage of that. So whether it's nice, good powered speakers or network players to incorporate into your systems, great headphones, there is a way now that you'll see more and more high quality music content that and lots of different ways to actually play it. And Sound United offers a large amount of those solutions, but just know that great music is there, and we're going to make sure that you have access to it.
Why is it that you guys are here and maybe others aren't?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the vision of the company. So we are a privately held company, so we can take a long view of the market. We can make investments for the future, and some of the investments take a long time before you actually get a return on them. And I'm just very fortunate to work for a company that has that kind of commitment to the industry and to music lovers. And so we've made those investments. We've created our BlueOS operating system for streaming music. We've been a leader with NAD in the development of amplification, true high fidelity digital amplification. And, we've put all of these technologies together and made some really, we think, compelling products that address today's consumer.
Why are we here at this show? A lot of manufacturers that deal with audio are not here. There's a couple of things that make us special. The first thing is we make the electronics and we make the speakers. Most companies make one or the other. So we make them both. So we can come in and represent both sides, everything you need to make great sound.
When you look at what the traditional definition of an audiophile is, you kind of get this vision of an older man sitting in his basement or in a single seat, the rest of the family up in the house sort of feeling animosity that they're not being included in this situation. And where we're trying to go with it is just change that definition. An audiophile can be somebody who has a killer gaming system and a pair of powered, bookshelf speakers as part of their setup. Or it can be somebody who's watching a home theater and surround sound. Like, an audiophile does not have to be restricted to this sort of singular experience with you sitting by yourself, hearing, in the sweet spot. It's not about that. It's about inclusiveness and getting more people to appreciate the fact that great sound is really about making experiences even better. And there's so much content out there now that why wouldn't you want to hear it at its best? And so I think what we're doing with some of the events out in the roads, trying to get people to understand you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get into this hobby. It's really not that hard to set up. Like, those are the kind of things that you need to overcome in terms of getting that next wave of people into this hobby and really embracing it.
And we came because we want to represent the audio industry and remind people it's entertainment first. It's about music. It's about your game is better when you have an immersive experience. Your TV show is better. You have 1,000 songs on your phone, but you're not getting the full potential of those songs if you're just playing them back to some little crappy little speaker. So the goal is we want to show people that you still need great audio. And because we have all these great brands, whether you look at electronics and speakers, we have that capability of doing that and reminding people that it's about entertainment.
In my opinion, the things that Klipsch is doing right are that we're focusing on sound performance and quality, premium materials, the use cases, and making sure that we're actually coming out with things that people want to use and that will enhance their lives, simplify their lives. One thing that Klipsch has been doing is partnering with people that are best in class in the industry. We want those same technologies in our products, so I feel like that gives us a competitive edge. Just working with people that may have been previously considered competitors are now our allies. We learn and grow from each other too. Everybody's coming out with their best things, and there are a lot of things that we learn from others. Everyone wants to one-up the other or, be best in class, whatever it may be.
And of course, it's good for the consumer at the end of the day.
Plus, we all know each other. Yeah. We're all friends here.
What do you think we have to do moving forward to make sure that hi-fi continues to grow and expand and reach new markets?
Well, I think, people love music, and even young people love music as much as any generation ever has. The problem that we see is just exposure to what really good hi-fi sounds like. I think anyone that sits down and listens or gets a good pair of headphones and listens, and there's lots of great choices now, to the music the way the artist intended, it makes just a huge difference in your appreciation and your enjoyment. One of the things we're doing here at the show is we are introducing Neil Young's archives into our BlueOS operating system. So our customers will be able to listen to the Neil Young archives. And Neil has been an advocate for preserving music and preserving it in the highest possible sound quality. So it's been kind of a natural fit for us to work with him and for him to work with us in promoting the idea of high resolution audio.
The stuff that blows people away is not the new songs. But when we play Neil Young, or we play a Zeppelin record, one of the demos we've been doing a lot here is Phil Collins. Because I remember I grew up, I'm an old guy, so I remember Miami Vice. That was my show. And I remember hearing that song the first time as they're driving through Miami with their Daytona, right? And there's an emotional attachment to that. And when you hear it, what it should have sounded like back in 1986, and now you get to hear exactly what Phil Collins was planning for that particular song, it's amazing. And now you don't have to have the disc. Streaming services are so great. A lot of the services like Amazon Ultra HD will give you better than CD quality sound. So you couldn't go out and buy a disc that sounded as good as what you can do now with streaming.
The traditional audio industry is predicated on a belief that most people really don't care about great sound anymore. And we just frankly don't sign on to that belief. We think that lots and lots of people care about great sound, but you just have to rethink your definition of the word audiophile.
It's still a huge market. People love to hear, they love music. It's the universal language.
To dive into that name, we know that music brings people together. So sound unites. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I think when you look at the demographics age-wise, like the kind of audio that is in force here at CES is definitely appealing to a younger generation, which I think is really important. You know, we're trying to get people to that stage where they're going to embrace the more high-fidelity speakers and those higher quality listening experiences. So you got to start somewhere, and I think that they're really sort of making a play to get those people interested in high-performance audio. So, you know, like we were saying before, the evolution is sort of unfolding before our eyes in terms of that next wave of, you know, who's really going to be embracing audio.
So Nick said it in a nice way. Either we bring new people into this world of hi-fi, or we need to start designing hi-fi systems for assisted living centers and nursing homes, and then figure out what our next jobs will be after that.
The next thing is someone has to remind everybody that sound matters, that music matters, that entertainment matters, because we see that younger people who are coming to these shows have never really had a great audio experience. There were no showrooms with audio. There were no, you know, these hi-fi listening rooms. So a lot of these people who come to these shows, you'll be amazed. This is the first time they've ever really heard a good audio system. So somebody has to come in here and remind everybody. And our company is called Sound United, because we believe it's about sound, and we want to make sure that people understand that. And if we have to be the last people here carrying that flag about audio, we will do that. A wise man once said, video without audio is just surveillance, right?